Hello, I'm Mark Stewart and welcome back to Stu Structures. We're here today to continue our build on the tower, so stay tuned. So welcome back. We're going to continue our build on D Tower from Grafton, West Virginia. Kind of going to take a break from the exterior. There's still several things here that we have to add on to it. I took a little trip to Grafton this morning and did some more photographing of several of the buildings in the area there, the ones that are still existing. But one thing I had some questions on, and so this show is going to be on that particular topic. I had mentioned the little round hole in the bottom of this was for a circular staircase, and a few people have asked me about that, so I'm going to go ahead and scratch build that in this episode. So you can get an idea of how to do something like that, and we'll continue on with this from that point and start some of the interior. So sit back and let's get started on the circular staircase.
Whenever you build an item from scratch, you need to look at it and decide what's the best way to go about it. This picture is the only reference that I have of this staircase, but it gives me a lot of good information. For instance, the stair treads are solid. I can't tell if they have diamond plating or any type of non-skid or anything like that on them, but at least I know that they're not open grate steel, so a real thin styrene will work for the treads. I have several sizes of styrene round stock. Mine are a little different in size as far as the small stuff that I can use for the handrails and stanchions, but the center post that I have is probably about the appropriate size for the center pole. The stairs themselves are actually in several different pieces. Here's kind of a small diagram, maybe not the best drawing in the world, but you can tell by it what I'm talking about. The tread is actually a triangle with an outer round piece that's the tread itself. Then there's a small round stanchion that goes between one tread to the back of the step below it. And also there is a piece of steel that wraps around the outer side of the stair and the leading edge of the stair, and I'm just guessing this is to give it some rigidity or make it a little more stable so that the steel is less flexible. But then you just, after you put these three pieces together on a tread, the center, or the small piece of the triangle of the tread would connect to the center pole, and then the round piece that comes down, the pipe underneath the front corner of the stair would connect to the back edge of the stair underneath of it. So you would just have to build all these one at a time, and then add them one at a time to the center post as you go down. And it, as you build it, it'll give itself some structural support to help the whole thing come together as a solid piece. So the round stock and the treads I have styrene for. The fascia piece that kind of wraps the underneath the leading edge and the side of the stair. What I'm going to do is use a real stiff black construction paper for this, because the styrene I think would be a little too hard to work because all these parts are very small. This is at HO scale, and I just think the paper would be a lot easier to work with. So the outside diameter of the staircase is 5/8 inch. So here I'm taking a template and marking out the circles. Also, the template has lines on it that you can use to set crosshairs on to find your center point and that. And after I find my center point, I'm just using a center punch here because I want to drill out the diameter of what the pole would be. And I'm clamping it to this piece of wood so I can, when I drill, it doesn't move around on me. It's really thin. And this helps me, the center punch helped me keep it in the center, but it still walked around a little bit. I probably should have used a hand drill instead of this heavy-duty drill. But anyway, I made several extras so that I could figure out which one had a good center point on them, and I picked 3 because I can get 8 treads and I need about 20. So 8 treads out of each of these little circles with just a little waste. So here I am marking out the treads, and you can see after I've marked them out, I picked the 3 best circles that the center holes were the best aligned in. And after cutting them out with some scissors, I'm just, even though it's not on camera very well here, I'm taking a file and just cleaning up the outside edge of the circle. And then the tread marks that I marked across the circle, I'm coming back through here and just cutting the individual treads out. I got to cut 3 of these circles, like I said, to get a minimum of 20. So I'm just taking my time here and cutting most of the way through the styrene and kind of getting all the individual treads cut. The outside of the edge of the treads are about 16 to 18 inches across an HO scale. So they're quite small to work with. All this stuff is actually fairly small. But here I'm just continuing to cut up a few of the treads. The hole, of course, that I cut in the middle allows it to seat against the center pole when I go to glue it later on, and it should match up and should glue it right in just as it should fit really well. Here you can see all the finished tread pieces after cutting them all out. Here I'm just looking at the center pole and trying to get an overall height of the center pole so I can cut this. Made it just a little bit long so I can cut it down off the bottom edge later on. This would have went on into the basement, but since this doesn't have a basement, I'm only going down, and really only the top part of it will be visible. And here I'm marking the spacing for the treads on the pole, so I know how to glue the treads onto the pole once I get them there. The very top edge of the pole, I put a small piece of plastic that I had found off some handrails off of an old ship model that I had. Here you can see the 3 pieces of each of the treads, the black paper, the small pins that go between the treads, and the treads themselves that will make up all the individual treads. And now we got to start the process of gluing all this stuff together to form the individual treads so we can build the staircase up from there. So my camera really didn't pick up the, it doesn't focus very well, so the gluing it together of all these tiny little parts didn't show up good on film, so I just didn't show it on here. There is a short piece here that doesn't show it real well of the individual treads after they're put together, but you can see from the drawing I showed a little while ago here that the 3 parts basically are the tread, the pin, and the fascia piece that wraps around it, and that just makes up all the individual treads. So here, once all the treads are glued onto the center pole, you can kind of see what it all comes together as here. They all help to support each other, so it actually becomes a fairly sturdy little item here. The next thing is the platform I added on top where it meets the floor up above, so you can see the first, it's not really a tread, it's more of a platform. But anyway, the next step is to add stanchions to it. So here I'm cutting the individual upright posts that would hold the handrail coming down the stairs, and I'm cutting enough for all the treads and a couple extras in case I mess something up, because that's a standard procedure with me. You can't get everything right all the time. So I'm cutting these square here. I do come back and cut a very slight angle on one end of each of these. The flat piece you see here will be glued to the tread itself. A very tedious process, but the top of them need to be angled, because as the handrail comes down through, all these angles need to be high point towards the back of the tread, low point towards the front of the tread, so that the handrail coming down at the angle it's going to come down can lay flat, pretty much on top of these posts, so that it gets a good glue and adherence to the top of these. It's just a very slow process. This would probably be a whole lot easier if I was doing O-gauge. And as I get older, my eyes, maybe I ought to switch to O-gauge. But here you can see all the stanchion posts that are in place. They are slightly heavy for this, but I was just chalking that up to wanting to add a little safety to the HO guys so that they don't fall off the edge of the stairs. So we're talking safety here. So the last piece to be added to this is the handrail to the stanchions. I started by gluing the round styrene stock to the top post and to the second stanchion at the proper downward angle, aligning it so that it would start off at the right angle. And all I did was glue the first two stanchions to begin with and let it set up for a long time so that I knew it was good and solid before I went on and started working this the rest of the way down. I probably should have taken this and preheated it or something and bent it around something approximately the same diameter as what I needed it to be here to give it a better starting point than a straight rod, but I didn't think about that till after I was already into it. And I let this set up overnight. The second day I glued a couple more stanchions at a time, let them set up about 20 minutes each before moving on to the next couple and doing them a pair at a time. And I did about half of them that night, and then I used a set of helping hands to hold the center post of the staircase together pretty solidly. It has an alligator clip on it that held the center post, and then I had a heavy set of forceps that I put at the end of the long piece of round tubing, and as each piece was drying, I let that kind of hold it in place by just the weight of the forceps holding the long rod in place while each section glued up. And then after half of them, I let this set up overnight as well and came back the second day and finished them on the third evening. The gluing did move a couple of the stanchions around just a little bit, but they're not real far out of whack, so I just decided to live with it. Most of this won't be seen anyway. It'll be in the lower part of the tower, so it's not that big a deal to me. And after letting this set up overnight once more, I went ahead and painted the whole assembly black, as the color of the original was black, and now it's time to add it into the building.
Okay, so that brings us to an end of another Stu Structures. I'm happy with the way the circular staircase turned out. I've never tried something like that before. The whole inspiration behind all of this is to just say to everybody out there, jump out there and try these things. None of them are that hard. Some of them are time consuming. This took a little more time than I had thought it might. But I'm happy with the end results. Like I said too, and only the top part it's going to show. I don't know why I spent all that time building the lower part of it, but I'm glad I did. It was a learning experience. So anyway, we'll continue on in the next show with the rest of the build of this. I have some wood trim to add on here and a little in the windows. We got the glass to put in, and we have all the interior to put in this, including installing the staircase. There's a couple more electrical service boxes and things to go on the outside of this yet. And weathering it, I may say weathering till later on when I'm doing some other stuff as well. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this episode. I appreciate you staying tuned. I hope you learned something from this. If nothing else, just to jump out there and do things. That's the only way to really learn and to gain the experience to be able to do the things you really want to do. In any case, thank you very much again for watching. Please hit the subscribe button down below. It's free, and you know, there's a lot of good information coming your way in the future on the next several builds we're going to do. Hit the like and share button as well, and share it with some of your friends that are in the model railroading and get them involved. So anyway, thanks again. Happy railroading.